This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 59, the 12-Step Get Out of Debt Program, Part 1, by Babauta of Zen Habits.net.
Get ready to maximize your potential with Optimal Finance Daily, the podcast that brings you the best content in personal finance 5 days a week. Your optimal life awaits. Now here's your host, Dan Warren.
Greetings once again. Welcome back to Optimal Finance Daily, where I read to you from some of the best personal finance blogs on the planet. And today's post is from Babauta, and it's a pretty long one, so I've broken it up into two parts. So in the first half today, we'll cover his first 6 steps, and then tomorrow you'll hear the final 6 steps for getting out of debt to take you into your weekend. And I've done this once before, and it actually seemed to help spread the word of the podcast, which was amazing. So if you're enjoying this podcast and want to do something to help us out here at Optimal Finance Daily, just tell one person about it. That's a huge way to show your support. Maybe show them how to subscribe to the podcast so that they can hear these daily posts along with you. If everyone who's listening right now took a few seconds to just introduce one new subscriber to this podcast, it would really go a long way to keep this podcast alive. So please show a friend, a coworker, or a loved one how to subscribe, or send them a quick message and you can link them to oldpodcast.com. Or if they're not going to do that, just grab their phone and subscribe for them. And with that, let's jump right in and start optimizing your life. The 12-Step Get Out of Debt Program, Part 1, by Babauta of Zen Habits.net. Debt is a major problem for a lot of people these days. The problem is, even if they know they want to get out of it, they have a hard time figuring out how to start. If you fit this description, this 12-step program spells it out for you. Now, there isn't one way to get out of debt, and the best program should be tailored to each person's individual situation. But if you feel like you just don't know how to begin, this program is designed to give you a sort of guide, one that should be adjusted to fit your financial situation. It's aimed not at people who have their finances together and are just trying to pay off a credit card or two. It's aimed at those who have trouble finding any extra money to pay off debts, who seem to find themselves getting deeper and deeper into debt and don't know how to stop it. In other words, it's a bit of an emergency program. Disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor, and if you are in need of one, I suggest you find a qualified advisor. My only qualification is that I've made great strides in getting my finances under control, in starting an emergency fund, in paying all my bills on time, in not getting further into debt, and in eliminating my debt. I should be done by the end of this year. This program is based on my experiences and on the large number of books and websites I've read. The Zen Habits 12-Step Get Out of Debt Program. Step 1. Acknowledge the problem. The first step is admitting you have a problem. The first week, all you have to do is say to yourself, I have a problem with debt. I got into this because I spend money I don't have. But I believe that there's a way out, and I can do this. I can control my spending, make a plan, and slowly get out of debt. That's a major step. Now set aside just 30 to 60 minutes a week to deal with your finances. Make it a set day and time, and don't let yourself miss this appointment. Step 2, stop digging. If you're in a hole, the first step is to stop digging, and that's what you're going to do this second week. For 30 days, see if you can stop any non-essential spending. If you have a major problem with credit cards, cut them up. If you're not so bad with credit cards, at least put them away and don't buy stuff online for 1 month. What's essential? Obviously, your bills, housing, auto, gas, groceries, that kind of stuff. Non-essential? Things like clothing, CDs, DVDs, books, magazines, gadgets. You know what I mean. Just 30 days. After that, you can decide how much to spend on these things. Step 3. Make small cutbacks. This third week, take a look at things you normally buy and see if you can cut out a few of them or spend less on them. Groceries? See if you can buy house brands instead of name brands. Coffee? Make it yourself at home instead of buying out. Lunch? Try packing it to work instead of eating out. Add up what your cutbacks will save you this month. Step 4. Start an emergency fund. This fourth week, set up a savings account, if you don't have one already, for an emergency fund. Now take the amount you saved in Step 3, and even in Step 2 if you think you can make them last for a while, and set up a regular automatic deposit from your checking to this emergency fund savings account for this amount. It's important that before you start paying off debt, you have at least a small emergency fund. Aim for $1,000 at first, and you can grow that later. The reason, if unexpected expenses come up and you don't have an emergency fund, you will skip your debt payments to pay for the unexpected expenses. The emergency fund protects your debt payments. Step 5. Take inventory. Okay, this is a step that we don't like to take, but take a deep breath. You need to do this. Remember what you said in step 1? You can do this. This 5th week, set up a simple spreadsheet. In one column, list all of your debts, credit cards, medical bills, auto loans, etc. You can leave out your mortgage, but put everything else in. In the second column, put the amounts you owe for each debt. In the third, put the minimum monthly payment and put the percentage interest in the fourth column. Total up the second and third columns to see your total debt owed and how much you have to pay, at a minimum, towards debt each month. Step 6. Make a spending plan. We don't like to do this step either, but it's not going to be as painful as we think. This 6th week, set up another simple spreadsheet. In one column, list your monthly bills, rent or mortgage, auto payments, utilities, cable, etc., everything that is a regular monthly expense. Then list variable expenses, things that change every month, like groceries, gas, eating out, etc. Later, you should add irregular expenses, stuff that comes up once in a while, less than once a month, like auto and house maintenance, clothing, insurance, etc. But we won't get into that now, as we want to keep it simple. In the second column, put down the amounts for each. Be sure to put enough for things like gas and groceries, as you don't want to be short. Be sure to also include your minimum debt payments and your emergency fund deposit. Now, list your income sources and monthly amounts. There, you've got a temporary spending plan. You'll want to add the irregular expenses later. Now, if the expenses are greater than the income, you'll need to make adjustments until the expenses are equal to or less than the income. To be continued. You just listened to part 1 of the post titled The 12-Step Get Out of Debt Program by Leo Babauta of ZenHabits.net. If you've got any comments about today's post, please come and share them with us at oldpodcast.com. And once again today, we're asking that if you enjoy this show, why not help someone else out and introduce them to the podcast? You can show them how to subscribe on their phone, and it would be a really big help to keep this show alive. And that's it for today, but I'll be back tomorrow with part 2 of this post, steps 7 through 12. So I'll see you there where your optimal life awaits.
Hello, Life Optimizer. This is Justin Malik, creator and producer of this podcast, but also Optimal Living Daily, the show where I read to you from even more blogs covering finance, productivity, minimalism, personal development, and more from amazing bloggers like Derek Sivers, Zen Habits, The Minimalists, and all the ones you hear on this show too. So if you enjoyed today's episode and like taking amazing blogs on the go, come on over to Optimal Living Daily and subscribe to that one too. And together, we'll start optimizing your life.
You've been listening to Optimal Finance Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode and head to oldpodcast.com. That's OLDpodcast.com for a free gift as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.